Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. There is nothing more magnetic, nothing more powerful than a woman who knows exactly who she is, not because of her looks, not because of her status, but because of the habits she lives by every single day. 6 habits that don't just make her confident, they make her unforgettable. And when you master them, you won't need to chase attention. Attention will chase you. There is a certain presence about a mature woman who has done the work, who has faced the storms of life and come out not only standing, but standing taller. You can feel it when she enters a room, an energy that doesn't beg for attention, but commands it nonetheless. This kind of presence isn't about beauty that fades or charm that comes and goes. It's about habits, daily practices that turn a woman into someone truly irresistible, not in the shallow sense of the word, but in the way that people are drawn to her, respect her, and want to be in her company. The first habit is self-mastery. A mature woman doesn't lose herself to every passing emotion or reaction. She knows her triggers, she knows her boundaries, and she has trained herself to respond rather than react. That doesn't mean she suppresses her feelings. It means she channels them with intention. People feel safe around her because she doesn't bring chaos into the room. She's grounded, balanced, and steady. When everything else feels uncertain, she becomes an anchor, and that kind of composure is magnetic. The second habit is authenticity. Too many people wear masks, perform roles, and chase approval like it's oxygen, but the mature woman who refuses to contort herself to fit in, she stands out. She speaks her truth, not recklessly, not with malice, but with clarity and confidence. She doesn't dress, act, or live to impress anyone but herself. She's not afraid to be seen as she truly is, flaws included, and that raw honesty is what makes her shine. In a world full of illusions, authenticity is irresistible. The third habit is respect, for herself first, and then for others. A mature woman values her time, her body, her energy. She doesn't allow just anyone access to her inner circle. She doesn't overextend herself to please or to prove. And when she gives you her attention, you know it's genuine because she's intentional with where she invests it. People are drawn to her because she sets the standard for how she is treated. She doesn't beg for respect. She earns it by embodying it. And when she engages with others, she listens, she acknowledges, and she elevates the space around her. That balance of self-respect and respect for others creates a gravitational pull. The fourth habit is resilience. Life will test you. It will knock you down, sometimes so hard you wonder if you'll ever stand again. The irresistible woman doesn't just survive those blows. She learns from them. She's lived through heartbreaks, losses, failures, and setbacks, but instead of becoming bitter, she's become wiser, sharper, stronger. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about always rising. People can sense when someone has walked through fire and come out with more depth, more grit, and more grace. That kind of strength is rare, and it is captivating. The fifth habit is curiosity. Too many people stop growing. They think they've seen enough, know enough, experienced enough. But a mature woman who keeps her mind open, who hungers for new knowledge, who explores new ideas, she is alive in a way others are not. She doesn't cling to the past or get trapped in the comfort of routine. She pushes herself to expand, to evolve, to stretch beyond what she already knows. Her curiosity keeps her youthful, her conversations engaging, and her spirit radiant. People are drawn to her because she never stagnates. She's in motion, always unfolding into the next version of herself. And the sixth habit is generosity of spirit. Not the kind that seeks validation or recognition, but the quiet, powerful generosity that flows from abundance. She shares her wisdom, her time, her resources, not because she has to, but because she wants to. She builds others up without dimming her own light. She knows that true power is it's about control, but about contribution. When you encounter someone who makes you feel seen, heard, and valued, you never forget them. That kind of presence lingers long after she leaves the room. These 6 habits don't just appear overnight. They're forged through discipline, through self-reflection, through a willingness to grow and to fail and to try again. The mature woman who is truly irresistible is not perfect. She doesn't pretend to be, but she has put in the work to become a woman of depth, of character, of substance. She's not chasing approval or validation. She's not waiting for someone to complete her. She knows who she is, what she stands for, and where she's going. You can feel it in her energy, quiet confidence, unwavering composure, unshakable presence. She doesn't scream for attention. She doesn't play small. She takes up space unapologetically, but with grace. She's not here to compete with anyone else. She's here to live her truth fully. And that's what makes her irresistible. Now here's the truth. These habits are not beyond reach. They are not reserved for a chosen few. They are practices, choices, commitments you can make every single day to master your emotions, to be unapologetically authentic, to demand respect by respecting yourself, to rise every time you fall, to stay curious and open, to give without keeping score. Every one of these is within your grasp. The question is, will you commit? Will you do the hard work of self-mastery, even when it's uncomfortable? Will you choose authenticity, even when it costs you approval? Will you set boundaries and walk away from what disrespects you? Will you embrace the pain of resilience and let it sharpen you instead of break you? Will you keep learning even when it challenges what you think you know? And will you give even when no one is watching? If you do, you will not need to chase attention, validation, or love. They will come to you naturally because people will feel your presence, your strength, your truth. And that, more than anything else, is what makes a mature woman irresistible. And when you begin to embody these habits, something remarkable happens. Your life starts to shift in ways you couldn't have predicted. Opportunities begin to appear, not because you're chasing them, but because you've elevated your energy, your standard, your presence. People who might have overlooked you before now pay attention. Not because you've become louder, flashier, or more dramatic, but because you've become undeniable. Think about the power of walking into a room and knowing you don't have to prove yourself. That kind of quiet assurance makes people lean in. It's the kind of confidence that comes from practice, from discipline, from living in alignment with your values. You no longer seek external validation to feel worthy because you've already built that validation from within. And when others see a woman who validates herself, who stands firmly in her worth, they can't help but be drawn in. This is the essence of being irresistible. Not manipulation, not performance, not playing games. It's about creating such an unshakable sense of self that others feel magnetized by your presence. Because deep down, people crave what you embody: peace, power, authenticity, and grace. But let's be honest, cultivating these habits is not easy. It demands courage. It demands you look at yourself in the mirror and acknowledge where you're falling short, where you've been playing small, where you've allowed fear to dictate your choices. It means being brutally honest about the areas where you're not living up to your potential. That level of honesty can sting, but it's also liberating, because once you see it, you can change it. Take self-mastery, for example. It doesn't come from wishing or hoping. It comes from discipline. It's built when you hold your tongue instead of lashing out, when you pause before making a rash decision, when you choose patience over impulsivity. Each time you practice that discipline, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. And just like training your body, the more you exercise that muscle, the stronger it becomes. Soon, people begin to notice. They start to recognize you as the one who stays calm under pressure, the one who brings clarity when others are clouded. That makes you invaluable in both personal and professional spaces. Authenticity, too, requires bravery. It means rejecting the easy path of fitting in, of molding yourself into whatever version you think others will accept. It means risking rejection by showing up as your true self. But here's the paradox. When you dare to be authentic, the right people are drawn to you effortlessly. They recognize the courage it takes to live that way. And suddenly, you no longer waste energy maintaining masks or facades. That freedom creates a lightness about you that others feel, and it makes them want to be around you. Respect begins with the standards you set for yourself. Ask yourself, what do I tolerate that chips away at my sense of worth? Where do I overgive, overcompensate, or overexplain? Every time you say yes when you mean no, you erode your own boundaries. Every time you allow someone to mistreat you without consequence, you reinforce the idea that it's acceptable. Respect is not about demanding others change. It's about deciding what you will and will not accept, and then standing firm. The woman who honors her own boundaries earns respect not through words, but through action. Resilience is born in the fire. It's forged in the nights when you cried alone, in the mornings you got up even though you didn't. In the moments you chose to keep moving when quitting seemed easier. People admire resilience because it represents survival and strength, but more than that, it inspires. When others see you overcome, they begin to believe they can too. And that inspiration is what makes you unforgettable. Curiosity keeps your spirit alive. The mature woman who is irresistible is never stagnant. She reads, she learns, she travels, she listens. She's fascinated by the world and by people. That curiosity makes her conversations richer, her perspective broader, her presence more stimulating. No one wants to be around someone who has stopped growing, who recycles the same stories, the same ideas, the same beliefs. But when you nurture curiosity, you radiate vitality, and that vitality draws people in. And then there's generosity of spirit. This habit transforms not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. When you give freely, not your energy to the point of exhaustion, but your encouragement, your wisdom, your kindness, you create ripple effects you may never even witness. People remember how you made them feel. They remember your encouragement in a moment they doubted themselves, your kindness in a moment they felt invisible. That kind of generosity leaves an imprint deeper than anything material. The power of these habits is not in practicing them once, but in practicing them consistently. That's where transformation happens. That's when others stop just noticing you and start feeling compelled to connect with you, to learn from you, to stay in your orbit. Because irresistible energy doesn't scream, it whispers, it doesn't demand, it attracts. Think about the women you admire most. Chances are it's not because of their beauty, their wealth, or their status. It's because of the way they carry themselves, the way they navigate challenges, the way they treat others. It's the habits they live by that leave the lasting impression. And the truth is, you have the ability to cultivate those same habits. Nothing about them is out of reach. But here's what often stops people. Fear. Fear of being judged if they stand in their truth. Fear of failing if they try to build resilience. Fear of being alone if they set higher standards. Fear of rejection if they show their authentic self. But let me tell you this. Fear is the greatest thief of potential. It will rob you of becoming the woman you're meant to be if you allow it to dictate your choices. Every time you let fear win, you stay small. You quiet your voice, you dim your light, and when you do that, the world misses out on the power of who you really are. On the other hand, every time you face fear, every time you act in spite of it, you grow, you expand, you become stronger, wiser, more irresistible. That's the choice you face every day. Shrink back or step forward, play safe or stand bold, conform or live authentically, react impulsively or master yourself, collapse under setbacks or rise resilient, stagnate or stay curious, hoard your gifts or give generously. The woman you become is the result of the habits you choose. So ask yourself, which habits are you living right now? Which ones are lifting you, and which ones are holding you back? Because the irresistible woman is not an accident. She is intentional. She decides who she wants to be and then practices those habits until they become her nature. And once they become her nature, there's no pretending, no performing, just being. And that's what people are drawn to. A woman who simply is, confident without arrogance, strong without hardness, authentic without apology, generous without expectation. She is irresistible because she is real, and in a world where so much is fake, real is rare. Real is magnetic. Real is power. And when you choose to live in that realness, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop clinging and start allowing. You stop begging for opportunities and start creating them. Because authenticity opens doors that pretense can never unlock. When you are real, you stand out in a world drowning in performance. People crave the raw, the honest, the unfiltered. They may not even understand why they are drawn to you, but they will feel it. Because truth resonates deeper than any facade ever could. What makes these habits so powerful is how they weave together. They are not isolated traits you turn on and off. They build upon one another layer by layer until they form the fabric of who you are. Self-mastery gives you control, authenticity gives you freedom, respect gives you strength, resilience gives you endurance, curiosity gives you vitality, and generosity gives you influence. Together, they form an unstoppable force, a presence that demands nothing yet receives everything. And here's something people rarely talk about. Being irresistible isn't just about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. When you embody these habits, you look in the mirror differently. You carry yourself differently. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and you start saying, "I am more than enough." That shift changes how you walk into rooms, how you speak, how you make decisions. It changes how you love, how you work, how you lead. When you know your worth, everything else begins to align around it. But let's not sugarcoat the process. It requires sacrifice. To master yourself, you must sacrifice comfort. To be authentic, you must sacrifice approval. To demand respect, you must sacrifice people who cannot or will not give it. To be resilient, you must sacrifice the illusion of an easy life. To stay curious, you must sacrifice the security of certainty. To be generous, you must sacrifice selfishness. These sacrifices are not losses, they are investments. Every time you give something up, you gain something far greater: power, clarity, peace, influence. Too many people shy away from the work because it feels heavy, but what they don't realize is that carrying the weight of unfulfilled potential is far heavier. The regret of never becoming who you were meant to be crushes the spirit far more than the discomfort of growth ever could. Growth hurts, but stagnation suffocates. The woman who chooses growth, no matter how uncomfortable, inevitably becomes irresistible because she is rare. Few are willing to walk that path. Every interaction you have becomes an opportunity to reinforce these habits. That moment when someone disrespects you, do you shrink or do you stand tall? That opportunity to speak your truth, do you hide or do you own your voice? That failure that knocks you down, do you stay down or do you rise stronger? That chance to learn something new, do you dismiss it or do you lean in? That opportunity to uplift someone, do you withhold or do you give freely? These are not just moments, they are defining choices. And the accumulation of those choices is what makes you irresistible. When you live this way, you also begin to notice shifts in your relationships. You no longer tolerate shallow connections that drain you. You stop entertaining people who only show up when it's convenient for them. Instead, you draw in those who value depth, truth, and growth. Your circle becomes smaller, yes, but infinitely more powerful. You attract people who challenge you, who uplift you, who respect you. And just as importantly, you repel those who cannot rise to meet the standard you've set. That isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Because being irresistible isn't about being liked by everyone, it's about being unforgettable to the right ones. People often confuse irresistibility with perfection. They think they must be flawless to be admired, that they must never stumble, never falter, never show weakness. But the truth is the opposite. What draws people in is not your perfection, but your humanity. Your willingness to own your imperfections, to admit when you're wrong, to show vulnerability without letting it define you, that's what resonates. People aren't inspired by the illusion of perfection, they're inspired by the reality of resilience. They're moved by the way you carry your scars with grace, not by hiding them, but by showing they didn't break you. There is also a deep connection between these habits and leadership. Leadership is not about titles or positions, it's about influence. And influence is born when people trust you, respect you, and are inspired by you. A woman who embodies self-mastery, authenticity, respect, resilience, curiosity, and generosity naturally becomes a leader, whether she seeks it or not. Others look to her for guidance, not because she demands it, but because she lives it. That kind of leadership is irresistible because it's not imposed, it's earned. And make no mistake, these habits don't just affect how others see you, they transform the trajectory of your life. Self-mastery keeps you focused when distractions threaten to pull you off course. Authenticity ensures you build a life that's aligned with who you are, not who others expect you to be. Respect creates boundaries that protect your energy and peace. Resilience equips you to keep going no matter what obstacles come your way. Curiosity ensures you never stop evolving, never stop discovering new possibilities. And generosity ensures that everything you build isn't just for you, it leaves an impact far beyond you. This is why the woman who embodies these habits becomes unforgettable. She's not chasing external recognition, yet recognition follows her. She's not trying to impress, yet people are impressed. She's not grasping for attention, yet attention gravitates to her. because irresistibility is not about doing more. It's about being more. It's about becoming so aligned, so disciplined, so authentic that everything else falls into place. There will be days when you feel like you're failing at these habits, when you lose your composure, when you doubt yourself, when you fall back into old patterns. That doesn't mean you're not capable, it means you're human. The difference is that the irresistible woman doesn't stay there. She acknowledges the setback, learns from it, and recommits to the habit. She understands that mastery is not about perfection, it's about persistence. Every stumble is another opportunity to rise stronger. What you must remember is this: people may admire your success, your beauty, your achievements, but what they will never forget is how you made them feel. And when you live by these habits, people feel something powerful in your presence. They feel calm because you are composed. They feel free because you are authentic. They feel respected because you respect yourself. They feel inspired because you are resilient. They feel alive because you are curious. They feel valued because you are generous. That is what lingers. That is what makes you irresistible long after the conversation ends, long after you've left the room. So every day you have a choice to practice these habits, to embody them until they are second nature, to build a presence so magnetic it cannot be ignored. And the beauty of it is that you don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need to wait. You can begin right now with the next word you speak, the next decision you make, the next boundary you set, the next challenge you face, the next opportunity you take, the next kindness you extend. Each choice is a step toward becoming the woman who doesn't just walk into a room, she changes it. And when you become the kind of woman who changes the room, everything about the way you experience life transforms. You're no longer just existing in spaces, you're shaping them. You set the tone, you set to key energy. People notice when you enter because something about you shifts the atmosphere. And that shift doesn't come from noise, from force, or from demanding attention. It comes from the way you carry yourself, the way you walk in with calm confidence, the way you make others feel seen without even trying. That's the kind of impact that doesn't fade when the moment passes. It lingers, and it leaves people better than when you found them. But here's the secret. This level of influence requires consistency. Anyone can have a good day, show up strong once, or inspire for a moment. What sets you apart is the ability to do it again and again, regardless of circumstances. When life throws chaos at you, when stress mounts, when others fold under pressure, you remain steady. People are drawn to consistency because it builds trust. When they know what to expect from you, when they know you won't collapse at the first sign of difficulty, they begin to rely on your presence. That reliability is rare, and it makes you unforgettable. To live this way, you must also understand the power of restraint. In a world where everyone feels the need to respond instantly, to prove themselves immediately, to defend every opinion, restraint becomes a superpower. It shows that you are in control of yourself, that your emotions don't control you. That restraint creates mystery, and mystery draws people in. Not because you're hiding, but because you're intentional. You choose when to speak, when to reveal, when to act. And people respect that discipline because it shows strength. Another dimension of irresistibility lies in the way you cultivate presence. True presence means being fully in the moment with the people around you, not half listening while your mind races elsewhere, not distracted by your phone or your worries, but truly listening, truly engaging. When you give someone your undivided attention, you offer them a gift most people rarely receive in today's world. That depth of presence makes people feel valued, and when people feel valued, they gravitate toward you. And let's talk about grace, because grace is often underestimated. Grace doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean letting people walk over you. Grace is strength under control. It's choosing dignity over drama, composure over chaos. It's the ability to disagree without disrespect, to confront without cruelty, to walk away without bitterness. Grace elevates you. It sets you apart because it shows that your power isn't rooted in aggression. It's rooted in control, in wisdom, in balance. That kind of grace is unforgettable, and it makes people admire you even when they don't agree with you. Irresistibility also thrives in the way you honor your own evolution. Too often, people get stuck in old versions of themselves. They cling to who they were because it feels safe, even if it no longer serves them. But the irresistible woman embraces change. She allows herself to evolve, to shed layers, to step into new identities as she grows. She doesn't apologize for outgrowing people, habits, or places that no longer align with her. She understands that to keep her spirit alive, she must keep moving forward, and people are drawn to her because she represents possibility. She shows them that reinvention is not only possible, it's powerful. But make no mistake, embracing evolution requires courage. It requires leaving behind the familiar, the comfortable, the easy. It requires risking judgment from those who don't understand your growth. Yet every time you choose to evolve, you reinforce your strength. You send a message to yourself and to the world. I will not stay small. I will not stay stagnant. I will not betray my own potential for the comfort of others. That courage is magnetic because it reflects the kind of fearlessness most people long to embody. And then there's the power of self-care, not in the shallow sense of indulgence, but in the deeper sense of honoring your mind, besees, odi, and spirit. The irresistible woman treats herself as her most valuable asset. She takes care of her health, not for vanity, but for vitality. She nourishes her mind with knowledge, not just entertainment. She protects her peace with boundaries, not just excuses. When she cares for herself at that level, it shows. Her energy is higher, her presence is brighter, her influence is stronger. People notice because true self-care radiates outward. It cannot be hidden. What also sets her apart is her ability to hold vision. While others get caught up in distractions, in gossip, in trivial conflicts, she keeps her eyes on what matters. She sees beyond the noise. She's focused on her purpose, her growth, her impact. And because she holds that vision, she doesn't waste time on what drains her. That kind of focus is compelling because it shows direction. People are drawn to leaders who know where they're going, and when you embody vision, you naturally pull others along with you. Another quality that amplifies irresistibility is integrity. Integrity means your words and your actions align. It means you do what you say you'll do, even when it's inconvenient. It means you tell the truth, even when it costs you. It means you stand for something, even when it's not popular. In a world where people compromise for approval, integrity is magnetic. It builds trust. It makes people respect you, even if they disagree with you. And respect is the foundation of irresistibility. Let's not overlook the importance of emotional intelligence. Being able to read a room, to sense what people need, to adapt your communication without losing yourself, this is a skill that sets you apart. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean people-pleasing. It means awareness. It means knowing when to push and when to hold back, when to encourage and when to challenge. People who possess this skill are rare, and they become invaluable in every environment. When you can navigate emotions with wisdom, people feel understood around you, and nothing draws others in more than the feeling of being understood. Irresistibility also grows from confidence rooted in preparation. Confidence isn't about walking around with bravado, it's about knowing you've put in the work. When you prepare, when you've done your homework, when you've trained yourself, confidence naturally follows. It's quiet, it's steady, and it's undeniable. And people sense it. They can feel when you're grounded in competence, when you're not faking it, when your confidence is earned. That kind of confidence is unshakable, and it makes you someone people want to follow. And here's another truth. Being irresistible requires owning your power. Too many women downplay their strengths, shrink their achievements, and mute their brilliance because they're afraid of being too much. But when you own your power unapologetically, without arrogance, you give others permission to do the same. You show them that it's possible to be strong and kind, bold and graceful, confident and humble. Power owned with integrity is irresistible because it's rare to find someone who can carry it with balance. Finally, the energy you project matters more than anything else. People may forget your words, they may forget your actions, but they will never forget how you made them feel. If you project chaos, people will avoid you. If you project insecurity, people will dismiss you. But if you project calm, confidence, and authenticity, people will remember you. Energy is contagious, and when your energy lifts others, you become unforgettable. Every one of these qualities, every one of these habits is within your reach. None of them require you to be born into privilege, to look a certain way, or to have a specific background. They require choices. They require discipline. They require courage. And the more you practice them, the more natural they become, until one day you realize you no longer need to try to be irresistible. You simply are.